Stick your cock up her ass, you motherfucking worthless cocksucker. Your mother sucks cocks in hell, Karis, you faithless slime. Shove it up your ass,
In the name of our Lord,
fuck him!
be gone!
Fuck him, Karis!
From
Fuck
this
him.
creature!
You killed your
From
mother!
this your servant!
You left her alone to
Reagan
die!
to his
Shut up! I'll never forgive you! Bastard!
Hey everybody, welcome to the 13 O'Clock Podcast, episode 11.
11 already.
I know, right? It seems like just yesterday we started this podcast.
Yeah, I know. Show's growing.
Yes, shout out to all our new subscribers.
Yeah, we were up to about 60 on Facebook.
Yeah, which
Excuse me,
is
not Facebook, YouTube.
Yeah.
And the podcast section's evidently doing pretty good too. So,
Yeah.
you know, takes a while to grow a channel, but the channel seems to be growing and we have fans.
Yay, thanks you guys.
And Jenny's actually considering making some t-shirts.
Yeah.
Some cool 13 o'clock t-shirts. It'll probably be, one of them will definitely have to be our black logo that says 13 on it and it has me and you on it.
Yeah. I would like to do one like that. And I'd also like to do like kind of themed ones.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We
for
have like
the different shows that we did.
You have like a Vril version.
Yeah, from the Nazi show we did last week.
Yeah, and then you could do like a serial killer version.
Yeah.
Maybe like the original Night Stalker shirt, something like that.
Yeah.
Each that way.
I want a Satanic Panic one.
Satanic
That's what I want.
Panic. Yeah.
Oh, and actually, since I mentioned Satanic Panic, that's a good segue into our topic today.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because today we're talking about demons, casting out the demons.
You never know, man. Demon might just appear. Might
Yeah.
go inside you.
Ew.
That's kind of kinky. Demon going inside you.
Oh, you sexy demon.
You know all about that, Jen.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, all right.
But okay, so actually, so we're talking about casting out demons. We're talking about quote unquote supposedly real cases of demonic possession and exorcisms.
Yeah.
Now,
and one of them even has the Warrens in it. Ed and Lorraine Warren.
yeah, one of
With
those.
that-
I don't know if I'm going to give like a huge like thing of that, but
Okay.
I'll just mention that.
Wherever
one.
those two are around, that's where the demons are.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I actually made a meme of them, like a picture of the two of them, and it said, "I'm not saying it's demons, but it's demons," instead of the Greek alien guy.
Yeah.
But because everywhere they
It was
go,
funny.
yeah, shit's demons.
Yeah.
But okay, so before we get started, full disclosure, I'm an atheist. I do not believe demons exist. Okay, so whatever these cases of possession or exorcism or things like that are, I think it's probably one of three things. One, the kid's acting out, just being an asshole.
Right.
Two, kid's got mental problems. Three, could be some poltergeist activity that is being misidentified as demon possession.
This is going to upset some atheists, I think, and some religious people, because I'm an atheist also, but I've actually witnessed what would be called
Poltergeist activity. But like I said, I mean, and I
stuff.
think we've mentioned on the show before, we don't think poltergeist activity is supernatural.
No, I think it has something to do with quantum physics, some kind of exotic physics. And I've had near-death experience. I believe there's an afterlife.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the heaven that's talked about in religions, but pretty damn close from, if you ever have an NDE, it's a dream-like experience, which is weird. But that's for another show.
You don't think there's demons, though, do you? That can possess a person.
Here's the thing. And we're going to do a show about demonic possession.
Yeah.
And you have these people saying that, well, I'm witnessing demons. But what are demons? Because if you're gonna go by the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, they're not really clear on what a demon is.
Yeah.
I mean, in Genesis, you have El Shaddai, or God Almighty, and his sons. Some of those sons have sex with the daughters of men, and from them come Nephilim, Rephaim, that is mentioned in other parts of the Old Testament, and then giants and men of great renown.
Right.
Some of these sons of God are chained up into the earth. They never really call them demons. But in Christian tradition, they will say that those are demons.
Right.
And then in the New Testament, you have stories of Jesus going into graveyards to cast demons out of a possessed man.
Yeah.
And he throws them in a pig.
In a pig, right.
And they jump up. Well, why are demons in the cemetery? Are they talking about the souls of the evil dead? So what is a demon? A fallen angel, or is it souls of the evil dead?
Right, it's not real
It's
clear.
not real clear. And it was evidently is not clear in the original text.
No.
In the original Greek text in the Hebrew. So, what is a demon?
Yeah.
That's unclear.
Right.
Good.
But, so the first case we're going to talk about is probably one of the better known ones. Everyone in the world has probably seen The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And, not the TV show, the original movie, obviously.
Based on a real case.
And that is based on a real case. Based on the novel by William Peter Blatty, which came out in 1971. And William Peter Blatty actually got the idea for writing The Exorcist from a newspaper article that he read about an actual exorcism. And strangely enough, other than the actual kid being a boy and not a girl, most of the shit that happened in the movie was pretty close to what was reported in the actual case.
Yes, clergy witnessed it. And,
yeah.
And people that were not in the clergy witnessed it. But it went on a lot longer.
Yeah,
than
true.
What they show in the movie.
Yeah, and it followed the kid around because they moved him around a lot.
Yeah.
It actually took place in Maryland. It started in Cottage City, and it was 1949. And the kid was 13 years old. Now, I don't think his real name has ever been revealed. Usually when people talk about the case, he's referred to by a pseudonym, either Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim. So, but those are not his name. I don't know what his real name is. But, basically, so the kid, he was kind of a weird kid, a little bit of a loner type of kid. And, didn't get along with his parents, evidently. Only close family member, his Aunt Harriet. Now, in 1949, his Aunt Harriet gave him a Ouija board.
Just like in the movie.
Just like in the movie.
Yeah.
And not long afterwards, she died. So the kid missed her, and so started trying to communicate with her on the Ouija board. And the Ouija board apparently gave some answers and shit like that. So, he's thinking, oh, Aunt Harriet's communicating with me. And then, just like in the movie, weird shit started happening around the house. They start hearing all these weird, footsteps, marching across the ceiling or up in the attic.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's
somebody
scratching at the walls. Right. Pictures vibrating on the wall. And objects rattling on shelves and stuff like that. And, shit in the house would be moved around. And also about this time, the kid, let's call him Robbie, because that's one of his names. I don't want to keep saying the kid. The possessed kid. So then he started complaining, just like in the movie, that his bed was shaking. And that his covers were coming off, flying off or being pulled off him. Okay, so he complains to his family about this, as you would. It's like, hey, all this weird shit's happening, Mom and Dad.
How old was he again? I think
13. 13.
Typical.
Yep. And initially, I mean, fair play to his parents, I guess they did believe him. But they thought that the disturbances were caused by Aunt Harriet, the ghost of Aunt Harriet.
Okay.
So they kind of started to try to communicate with her, by asking questions and, hey, knock 3 times for yes and blah, blah, blah.
And knocks would come out of the wall.
Of the wall. So they thought, oh, Aunt Harriet's talking to us. But then shit got a little weirder. The bed would shake all the time, he would just be sitting on it still and the bed would shake.
And this is witnessed by other family members.
Yeah.
He's not just reporting
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
And then, unexplained scratches started appearing on his arms. A weird rash appeared on his abdomen that apparently said hell. And, just like in the movie, I think it said help in the movie, didn't it? Mm. But, So then they figured, oh, well, maybe it's not Aunt Harriet, because she wouldn't do that. She was a nice lady. So they took the kid to the hospital to give him a physical and mental health workup. And they couldn't find anything wrong with him.
Right.
So then they figure, well, we'll go to the church, like you do, because they didn't know what else to do. And they had a couple of priests come out and have a look at the kid. Not necessarily for an exorcism at first, just to see what the problem was. Now, according to these two priests, they said that Robbie started kind of growling and shit like that, and then he started talking in a language that, well, one of the guys there was a rabbi, and that guy said that's Hebrew.
Wow.
And then he started speaking in another language that they didn't recognize, but when they took the tapes to some university nearby, they said that's Aramaic.
Wow.
So, you know, that's a very common aspect of possession, that you supposedly can talk in languages.
Now, were they able to understand entire sentences, or were these just broken words?
Yeah, as far as I know, it was just kind of broke. But it was real. They were real words.
I'd like to hear that. I wish they would have kept that.
Yeah,
kept the recordings.
It was so long ago.
Right.
So that kind of freaked him out, understandably. So then they called their own pastor, whose name was Luther Schultz. And he said, well, can you bring the kid to my house and he can stay here overnight and I'll observe him. And so he takes the kid to his house. Now, at his house, he also started hearing scratching at the walls. And the bed would vibrate. And, the kid was sitting there in the middle, bed was vibrating. And then, so, the pastor is like, okay, well, he tells the kid to go sleep on a big armchair in the bedroom. So the kid goes and gets in the armchair. Now, the pastor said that as soon as the kid got in the armchair, the chair slid backwards and then started rocking back and forth.
With him in it?
With the kid in it.
Man. How far did it slide back, did he say?
A few inches, like against the wall. And then, it was rocking back and forth, and then it slammed against the wall, tipped over, and threw the kid out onto the floor.
Huh. And they said there was no way he could have done that on his own.
No. I mean,
No leverage spots. He wasn't pushing with his feet. Nothing.
Yeah. According to the pastor, he said it just did it by itself.
Okay.
So then the pastor takes out a blanket, puts it on the floor for the kid to sleep on, and then the blanket flew across the floor and disappeared under the bed.
Oh, wow.
Now, the pastor said he had been watching the kid the whole time and there was no way he could have done that. Okay?
Yeah.
So after that, he goes back to Robbie's family and he says, okay, I don't know what's going on. Maybe you should take him for another series of tests. Maybe they missed something, blah, blah, blah. So they did that.
That's weird, though, when you think about it. He sees objects moving around and he says, well, have the kid checked out with a doctor. That's kind of a weird solution to that problem.
I don't even think it was a solution. I think it was just kind of like a shrug, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Maybe it was like, get rid of this kid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just I'm washing my hands of it. Yeah. I have no idea what's happening.
That's probably closer to the truth.
Yeah, that's
because if I saw that happen, I'd instantly become a believer. I'd be like, oh, okay, yep.
Yep, that's happening now.
That's happening. He's not sick. That's some kind of a demon or poltergeist. To me, it sounds like classic poltergeist so far.
All the activity.
Classic poltergeist.
Yeah. Which is what I think. I mean, if the witness accounts are correct. Sorry, I'm drinking root beer and I'm burping.
Yeah, but, I'm over here vaping and drinking Coca-Cola.
We're so gross.
Yeah.
But if the witness accounts are legitimate, then I definitely do think this is probably
a poltergeist.
This is probably a poltergeist.
It's similar to the case that I had.
Because it wasn't just a case of a kid going, "Bruh, fuck you," blah, 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 blah. There was actual shit moving around.
Yeah. It's RSPK.
Yeah.
Recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis.
Right.
Subconscious. So
they take him for another series of tests. They don't find anything. Now the pastor also contacted J.B. Rhine, who very famous parapsychologist from the Duke University Parapsychology Lab. Blah.
Okay.
He's the one that invented the Zener cards, with the little symbols on them.
Yeah, the symbols. Okay.
Yeah. For telepathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. So he drove up from North Carolina to visit the kid. Now, while Ryan was there, he didn't see anything.
Okay.
But he said the same thing we said. He said, well, if this shit happened the way you said, then it's RSPK. It's poltergeist activity.
Right.
It's not demon possession. And then he went back home. But then, the pastor started seeing more scratches appearing on the kid's arms. And the pastor said, look, we need to call in a Catholic priest to do an exorcism. Now, there are some things about this story that were added later or were exaggerated. Like, there's a story that there was a book that came out in 1993, like, about this case. And this had this story in it, but I don't think this story is genuine. They said, in this book, it said the kid was taken to Georgetown University Hospital to go and to have an exorcism, right? And the priest that did the exorcism was named Edward Albert Hughes. Now, it said that during the exorcism, Hughes said he heard the kid speaking in Latin, thrashing around, and then they restrained the kid. He broke free from his restraints, tore a spring out of the mattress he was lying on, and slashed the priest's hand open with it.
Yeah, I remember that story.
And then it said that the priest had a nervous breakdown afterward. But later research shows that this probably did not happen. They said that Catholic priest did actually go and meet with the kid on one occasion, but not for an exorcism.
Okay.
And he said, I never said that the kid spoke Latin in my presence. And he said, when I met with him, it was at a church. It wasn't even in a hospital. I was not injured. And he never had a nervous breakdown either. He had a normal, thing at his church, St. James Church, and then he died in 1980, and it was all fine.
So he just met the kid, but nothing weird.
Yeah, he just met the kid, but nothing weird happened.
Okay.
And okay, so that probably never happened, but then they so they put the kid in the hospital again, and now people at the hospital, like staff and stuff like that, they said they saw the words appeaing on the kid's flesh.
Yeah.
It said hell. I think there's one said evil and shit like that. So, and it said it looked like, he had like claw marks all over him.
Yeah, one account I had heard from a guy who was, I believe at the time he was an altar boy.
Yeah.
He was helping these priests do this exorcism. Right. And he'd look down and he'd see things appear on the kid, rashes. And he thought at one time he could see faces and shapes and was trying to interpret them. And he called it to the attention of the priest that was doing the exorcism. He's like, look at that. What does that say? What is that? Is that a face? And the guy just went, don't read into things. Ignore it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, he wasn't encouraging him to read into anything. They were just trying to get the exorcism done. Kind of weird, I believe the guy.
Gotta get these damn demons out of here.
Yeah.
So, after Robbie got out of the hospital, his mother thought, well, maybe, a change of scenery will help.
Okay.
Right? So she takes the kid to St. Louis to stay with some of her relatives.
Now, supposedly the phenomenon is continuing throughout all this time.
Yes.
Okay.
Because actually, his mother was from St. Louis, so she took him to St. Louis, and the lettering on his skin, actually on his stomach, spelled out Louis. Right. His mother saw it
like St. Louis.
Yeah, come across his stomach. And also, she said when they got to St. Louis, they were talking about, whether they should enroll him in school there or something like that. And the word no appeared on his wrist.
Weird.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like stigmata.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. Like psychosomatic symptom.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's what I think it is, probably. Now, the shit did not get any better in St. Louis. Same shit happened. Bed vibrations. He was getting scratches and words, appearing on his skin. Furniture was moving around, shit like that. And this was seen by family members as well as Reverend Bishop, who came to look at the kid. And actually, Bishop, when he was at the house, he sprinkled some holy water on the kid. Mm-hmm. And then the kid started crying and screaming, and then there was like a big zigzag wound where the holy water went.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Right? So, okay. And there was also two of the priests came back, or bishop came back, and he had another priest with him named Reverend Bowdern. And here they had some kind of significant RSPK shit. It's like they heard all this banging coming from Robbie's room, so they ran up there, and they said it was this huge bookcase that had been turned all the way around, chair had been overturned, and the kid was sitting on the bed, and it was like shaking really violently.
Huh.
So these two priests saw this and said, we need to do a fucking exorcism like yesterday. Yeah. So they went and appealed to get one. And it was actually granted. They didn't give them any problems about it. So they did the exorcism. It took a while to do. They did it like 3 separate locations. The relative's house where Robbie was staying. There's a place called the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, and a rectory at St. Francis Xavier Church. And they don't know exactly, like records have kind of been lost about how many witnesses there were at each one, but there were several at each one. Priests, seminary students, and other observers who were not necessarily with the church. So the exorcism happened, it happened pretty close to how it did in the movie. Like, I don't think he puked or anything like that, but he smelled real bad, like he kept emitting like
weird
noxious odors and things like that. which you know all about that. Emitting noxious odors.
I knew it. Okay.
Well, I had to bring that up. But you already brought
Florida skunk cake, man.
Yeah, that's you.
All right.
Florida skunk cake.
Okay. She's always got to get me.
Hey, you already said something about demons getting inside you in the center, right. So I'm just getting you back to that.
Knock it off. Got to get back to the show. Got to get back to the show.
All right, so the same shit kind of happened in the movie. Like shit, like, words appeared on his stomach, like spite and things like that. Spoke in different languages, growled, spewed profanity. And also, like in the movie, he knew facts about the priest that they don't think he could possibly have known.
Wow.
Which was kind of weird.
Did they mention any?
No.
They kept that quiet.
They're like, shh. Yeah.
Brought up that issue with that altar boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although that might have been just a lucky guess. Honestly.
Maybe,
how do you know that? Because all of you do that.
Stop it.
But yeah. Oh, okay. So I guess he did vomit and he peed on himself and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And all kind of stuff. And they also said that he distorted his body in ways that didn't seem physically possible.
Weird.
Now, one of the priests said that he saw the kid flying through the air.
Man.
And saw him vaporize a ritual book, like whoosh.
Oh,
vaporize,
man.
That's the word he used.
You gotta cut in with that scene from the Exorcist where he's floating up in the air and they're going, "The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you." You should put that in the video.
Okay.
It's the power. Holy water. Oh. It's the power of Christ that compels you. The power of Christ. The power of Christ compels you. 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 He brought you low by his blood-stained cross. Do not despise my command because you know me to be a sinner. It's God himself who commands you. The majestic Christ who commands you. God the Father commands you. God the Son commands you. God
the Spirit commands you. The mystery of the cross commands you. The blood of the martyrs commands you.
I will if I remember.
Yeah, you put that in the podcast. No, that's kind of spooky when you think about it, though.
Yeah.
That's a pretty intense poltergeist outburst.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So...
And this is what I think what I think happened is because priests were involved, the power of suggestion, they're telling them that this is a demon and you need to be demonically possessed, or you need to be exorcised.
Yeah.
That the poltergeist phenomenon manifested as demonic possession.
That's what I'm thinking.
Because evidently he would also go into trance-like states and feeling states and
I mean, his
RSPK
family, I should say, was pretty religious.
Yeah, I had heard that the kid actually was Jewish, who married into a Lutheran family, and he didn't want to go to that church. He actually wanted to go to synagogue.
Oh,
that his mother married a Christian guy.
Oh, okay.
And that his stepdad wanted to take. That's how I remember the case, but that's just from memory.
Yeah. Okay, so they kept doing the exorcism. It took, I don't even know, over several weeks or something like that. They took the kid back to Maryland, but the churches, they were like, fuck that noise. So he went back to St. Louis. They took him to a Jesuit retreat called the White House. While he was there, apparently he tried to jump off a cliff.
Yeah, they had to stop him.
Yeah, and then a guy had to tackle him.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, kid was messed up, is what we're saying. So they kept doing it, and nothing seemed to be helping. Then one of the priests says, well, I'm just going to put, like, all these religious medals and stuff, like, all over the kid. Like, he put them all over his neck, and he stuffed a cross in his hands and stuff like that. And that actually seemed to calm the kid down. And the kid started asking the priest about the prayers. But then the priest kept praying and ignored his questions, and then he got pissed off. And then he just started thrashing around and freaking out, and they had to restrain him. But so evidently it's kind of weird because they didn't do anything particularly different, like other than the medals thing. But apparently that kind of worked in the end.
Huh.
So the one priest just kind of kept saying stuff over him, and then
they wore him out.
Yeah, I guess so. And then Robbie kept saying, I'm a fallen angel, and then the witnesses said that a man's voice came out of the kid, announcing he was Michael the Archangel.
Awesome.
And was commanding the demon to depart.
Man, I wish I could see that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they said his body kind of distorted a little bit, and then he was fine.
Cool.
And then he sat up and smiled, and he's like, hey, I'm free, or whatever.
All right.
And then, so later he moved back to Maryland, and nothing ever happened to him again. Went to Catholic high school, got married, had 3 kids, lives in D.C.
What's the analysis?
The analysis of this?
Yeah, the parapsychologists. What parapsychologists, what do they say?
RSPK.
RSPK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because, like I said, not just a case of a mentally ill kid acting out, because people did see shit moving around.
Right. It's a psychic temper tantrum. He did believe he was possessed, so that's how it manifested itself.
Right.
Right.
So,
and he did believe that the Archangel Michael saved him, and that's what ended it. That's how he justified the end of the poltergeist fit.
But like you said, he was probably just worn out at that.
Worn out. Couldn't take it anymore.
Because they kept taking him back and forth everywhere, and they just kept praying over him. And he's probably like sick of it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like breaking the kid's will.
Yeah.
Yeah, knock it off. Knock it off. Okay. All right. Okay, I've had enough. I'm safe.
All right, just shut up and leave me alone.
Let
Jesus
me go.
Christ.
I'm done being a poltergeist focus.
I'm done.
Yeah.
It's wearing me out. I can't take it anymore.
Okay, what's the next one?
Well, actually, let's take a break.
Okay.
We're going to take one of our 3 breaks at the moment, and then we will come back, and we're going to talk about the very sad case of Anneliese Michel, which I think was actually... I think the cause of that, not so much RSPK, I think the cause of that was tragically untreated mental illness.
Yeah, these are both well-known cases. We're going to start with the well-known
ones
first,
then I got a couple other ones that I want to mention too.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're going to take a little break right now, and we'll be right back. I would like to take a second and thank Subculture Corsets and Clothing for sponsoring Project iRadio and my show. While listening to my podcast, please take a second and visit their website at www.subculturecorsets.com. They carry a wide selection of corsets, rockabilly, gothic, steampunk, and pinup clothing, shoes, and accessories. Again, their website is subculturecorsets.com, or if you're in the Jacksonville, Florida area, stop by their store in the Avenues Mall. And if you like to save money, use the discount code 13o'clock when checking out and save 10% off your entire order. By the way, if you're a curvy girl, Subculture did not forget about you. They carry size 4 to 4X, and guys, they have men's clothing and shoes as well. So go shop at subculturecorsets.com now and use the discount code 13o'clock for a 10% discount. Okay. So you guys probably saw the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose from 2005.
I didn't see it.
Actually, I just saw it for the first time the other day because it was on cable.
Was it any good?
It was all right.
Okay.
It wasn't actually what I expected.
All right.
But not really so much a horror movie, but but the chick from Dexter was in it, so that was rad.
Oh, I did see that one.
Yeah, so I think you didn't like it.
Yeah,
I think you thought it was boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was actually based on a real person. She was a German girl named Anneliese Michel, and this happened in the 70s, 1975. Now, this is kind of sucks because this girl, she was from a super, super religious family, very devout Catholic. She was born in 1952, and she was real religious growing up. Not like in a creepy, scary, kind of way, yeah. Okay. But just in a real, they said she was real compassionate, real intelligent.
I guess.
And she was always praying and very pious. So, but her parents were real strict Catholics. And there was kind of like skeletons in the closet. Like before Anneliese was born, 4 years before she was born, her mother had an illegitimate daughter. Like she got knocked up before her and the husband were married. And apparently in the Catholic, world, that was a big no-no, even in the 70s.
Okay, yeah.
So it was said, like, even when she married the husband, they made her wear a black wedding veil.
Ooh. So
everyone would know.
Oh, man.
Like, here's, it was like a stigma. So, and then the sad thing is that the illegitimate kid, who was, Annaliese's older sister, she actually died when she was 8 years old.
Huh.
So, not a real happy kind of childhood, I guess. But, so they kind of think that maybe the way Anneliese was, that she was real religious and, as happened in the movie, she almost wanted to like take on people's sins like a martyr.
Right.
So they think that might have contributed, that she was almost trying to expiate her mother's sins because she saw how ashamed her mother was and she wanted to make it better.
Wow, okay.
So they think that's kind of the psychology that was going on there. But the sad thing is that Anneliese seemed pretty normal, other than being pretty religious. Pretty normal kid, intelligent, did real good in school, was a real nice girl and stuff like that. And then in 1968, when she was 16, she started having convulsions. And so she went to a neurologist in 1970, and they said that she had temporal lobe epilepsy. And they put her on medication. Now, the first medication she was given was Dilantin. That's an anticonvulsive, and that didn't help her. And actually, after they put her on that, it almost seemed to get worse. Like, she started saying that she was hearing voices. She was seeing devil faces, like, appearing on the wall. And also they said she had some physical symptoms, like she seemed to have trouble walking with her balance and things like that. She had some body dysmorphia. She thought that her hands had turned black and were swelling up and things like that.
But they weren't.
No.
Okay.
And then they put her on another drug called Aolept. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And that's what they usually give to schizophrenics.
Right.
But that didn't help her either. So even though she was having kind of all these health problems, she finished high school in 1973 and she went on to college. She went to the University of Würzburg. She was going to become a teacher. And when she was in college, the shit just started getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, she started getting depression. She was seeing hallucinations. And, you know, she was in and out of psychiatric hospitals, and it really didn't seem to be helping her. And so, because the medications were not helping her and it seemed to be getting worse, she got the idea that she was possessed by demons.
Now, did they report any kind of RSPK or any psychic phenomenon?
No, that's kind of what's sad about this
So
one.
this just looks like mental illness.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, it's kind of sad because what ended up... So she thought she was possessed by demons.
Okay.
Now, she also had a family friend, and they went on this pilgrimage to Italy. And this family friend also thought that Anneliese was possessed. Because they said, you know, she couldn't walk past crosses, she smelled really bad, all this kind of stuff. And, you know, they tried to get her to drink the holy water, and she couldn't, or she wouldn't, or whatever. So she gets back home, and her parents are like, yeah, totally possessed by demons. We want to get her an exorcism. Now, the church initially said no, because they thought, no, this is a medical issue, she should keep with her medications, and this would be better managed, you know, by a medical intervention. So she was still taking her medications, and they had given her a bunch of other ones, like an antipsychotic and an anti-seizure. But it wasn't really helping. Like, her behavior was just getting more and more bizarre. So she started getting, like, super hostile, super aggressive. It's like she kept, like, fucking, you know, bashing on religious objects. And then after a while, she started just, like, crawling on the floor, like, screaming and barking and peeing on the floor and drinking it and eating insects and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's actually recordings of her voice.
Yeah, they're pretty freaky.
Yeah, play it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll actually put one in here. You think I should? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's bizarre.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So here's one of the recordings right here.
Welches noch?
Das sag ich Ihnen nicht.
Im Namen Jesu.
Nein! Nein!
Des Sohnes und des
Ja, deshalb lacht ohne dich!
Stand am Jahre. Ja, das ist Familie.
Ihr könnt's auch nicht. Mach das hinaus! Scheiß durch, was die doof schreien. Nein! Sie Drecksau, sie Verflucht! Das ist unnahbar und grausam ist. Grausam! Sie Drecksau, sie Verfluchten! Der das ganze Deutschland verführt, oder? Ja, der ist ja noch drin.
Im Namen des dreifaltigen Gottes und aller Todesten Jungfrau Maria, sagt die Wahrheit.
Yeah.
Yep. That's weird.
So, yeah, pretty freaky. And pretty sad, like, considering how this case turned out. But, so yeah. Finally, her behavior was just getting so crazy that a priest came and examined her and said, yeah, he thought she was possessed. And he petitioned a local bishop and said, please, can we have an exorcism? And the church finally said that they could. So the priest that they said could give the exorcism was named Arnold Rentz. And they said, you can do it, but you have to keep it a secret. Because in Germany, the Catholic Church at the time, they're like, you know, they wanted to get away from exorcisms because they wanted to be seen as more modern or what have you.
Right.
So they're like, we don't want everybody knowing that we still do fucking exorcisms, so don't tell anybody. But so they did the first one in September of 1975, and after they started doing the exorcisms, Anneliese stopped taking her medications. And her family would not have any more medical treatment for her because they just put all their faith in the priest and said, she's got demons, get him out. So, you know, they do the exorcisms. She's doing all the standard exorcism or the standard possession shit. She's growling, she's contorting, she's talking in languages that she supposedly doesn't know. She's talking in what sounds like several voices at once. Like
Weird.
a bunch of voices are coming out of her. And some of the demons identified themselves. And this is also pretty weird and pretty common in possession cases. In cases where people are possessed by demons, in a lot of cases, they will say, the demons will say, you know, they're Lucifer, obviously.
Right.
Judas Iscariot, which I thought was kind of odd.
Not a demon.
Yeah.
Right.
Cain.
Okay. Yeah, Cain, in some interpretations of the Old Testament, Dr. Robert M. Price talks about this. Cain's father possibly could have been a demon. And certainly in the original story. They think that was edited out.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard that. Oh, and also Nero.
Weird.
Which seems like kind of an out of the blue sort of
I think
demon
Christians
thing.
used to believe that Nero was the Antichrist at one time. So
yeah, that's probably where that comes from. But I think I've also seen a couple say they were Hitler, but I don't think so. She didn't. But yeah, Nero. So they did exorcisms. They did a total of 67 exorcisms. Damn. Over the next 10 months.
Exorcism marathon.
It was, yeah. I mean, it took a long time, but they did a bunch of them. And she just kept getting worse and worse. What she would do, they said that she would, genuflect, she'd get down on her knees to pray, right? Mm-hmm. They said she did that so much that she tore the ligaments in her knees.
Weird.
Like, so she could, you know what I mean? Mm. So yeah, she had ruptured ligaments in her knees. And then near the end of the 10-month period, she started to refuse food and water. Because she said that if she fasted, it would make the demons come out. All right, okay. I guess like they didn't want to hang around if they weren't getting any food or something like that. Weird. So she lost a lot of weight, obviously. And the sad thing is that, in periods where she was lucid, she started telling the priests and her family that she was being made to suffer for the sins of others. Like she was a martyr. And she was saying, it was hard, but, that's what she wanted to do, or I don't know. She kept saying weird shit like that.
Now, up to this point, no reports of any kind of psychic phenomenon.
No.
Well, except maybe talking in languages that she didn't know.
Right.
Now, did she ever make any claims or predictions that came true?
Not that I know of. So, like I said, I think this is more a case of probably mental illness rather than possession.
The human mind's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You can hear a foreign language and maybe repeat a few words of it later just by memory. Through your subconscious. Maybe it could also be where if random mumbo-jumbo gibberish like you hear in the recordings might be interpreted as another language. A few words. But it's probably just random. I bet you she wasn't speaking in any kind of foreign
Probably not.
That she didn't know.
Yeah.
I think it was just like what they call a Rorschach test, where you just throw a bunch of stuff up
there,
and you interpret what you see. It's probably like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
But anyway, she had all these kind of, ideas about martyrdom and all this other kind of stuff. And she actually ended up dying.
Yeah.
July 1976. She was 23 years old when she died. She weighed 68 pounds. Yeah.
I think that was temporal lobe epilepsy.
That's what it sounds like to me. I'm not a doctor, but...
Some people say that people that have that can have, like, weird mental states where they feel like they're channeling spirits and that they're seeing the future, prophesying things. Yeah. And then you mix that with maybe schizophrenia. Yeah. And
super religiosity is also a hallmark of temporal lobe epilepsy. It is, yeah.
Right.
So since she ended up dying, and because she ended up dying of malnutrition and dehydration. So because her parents had ceased medical treatment, they were arrested. Yeah. And so were two of the priests that attended the exorcisms.
They weren't feeding her.
Yeah. So there was a big trial. Just like, and it's pretty similar to what happened in the movie. So, the whole idea behind the trial was the priests were saying, yeah, she was possessed by demons, and this is what we thought would be the best way to help her. We feel bad that she died, blah, blah, blah.
This is the same way Lisa McPherson died. The Scientologist.
That's right.
Because they have a version of that called the introspection rundown.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
is like exorcism.
And she ended up dying the same way.
Yeah, they weren't feeding her, giving her water.
Yeah.
Evidently she was refusing it. She had a psychotic break.
Yeah. But see, Anneliese was refusing it too.
But the Scientologists, they're going to do the introspection rundowns, what they call it. It's just it's a way of exorcising alien demonic spirits. They believe in
different. No different.
They believe in demonic possession also.
No
It's just that
different.
these are alien demons with Scientology.
Yeah.
So she died like Anneliese McPherson died.
Yep.
Weird.
So, obviously, big media trial. Big, trial, and the media was all over it. They were arguing whether, because her parents and because Anneliese supposedly genuinely believed that she was possessed by demons and they thought they were helping her, were they still as culpable, blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of the argument that went on at the trial. Now, at the end of the trial, all four, her parents and the two priests, were found guilty of manslaughter.
Damn, well, how much did they get?
But not much, because they thought that they, because of their genuine belief, and they said, it sucks, you should have fed her, but you really thought you were helping her, and the medicine hadn't been helping her. I mean, even though the doctors that they interviewed said, had she been on the medication longer, had she been on different ones, it might have, the outcome might have been different. But, so yeah, they only got 6 months in jail, which was later suspended, and 3 years probation. And actually, the prosecution had been asking for less than that. They just wanted the priests to have a fine, and then the parents to get guilty but not have any jail time. They just wanted to kind of send a message. They didn't necessarily want to punish them.
Right.
But the weird thing is that 2 years after Anneliese died, her parents wanted to, because they had her buried so quickly and they couldn't afford much, they wanted to have her body moved to like a nicer coffin, like a nicer area or whatever. And so they petitioned to have her moved. Now, before that happened, they got a phone call or a letter from a German nun who said that she had had a vision of Anneliese in her coffin and that her body was not decayed.
Ooh.
Like sainted,
Okay, well, let's see if this is true.
It is not.
It is not.
They said when they moved the body said it looked just like a normal
rotted body
would.
Okay.
And so this German nun was like apparently trying to get her sainted.
Right.
But now Anneliese's grave is like a little pilgrimage spot in Germany for devout Catholics. Because they kind of think she was, although the Vatican are like totally not demon possession.
Yeah, that's not a case of possession.
Totally not. And it's really kind of sad because, I mean, she was obviously very, very mentally ill.
Yeah, the photos of her are horrid.
Yeah. And, it's just kind of sad because it seemed like she was on a lot of medication. She did have psychiatric treatment. It didn't really seem to be helping her.
Right.
But obviously, exercising her didn't help anything either. I mean, would she still be alive if they hadn't done that?
No, she probably would have died anyway.
She might have.
Yeah, I think she had bad brains.
Maybe.
Some people just
and it's kind of sad because it happened pretty suddenly.
Yeah.
I mean, they said she'd been pretty normal up until she was a teenager and she suddenly started having convulsions and then that was all she wrote. So, okay, so we're going to take another break right now. And then when we come back, I want to mention 2 other little cases where murders were involved.
Yeah, these are pretty good from what you told me.
Yeah.
I don't know much about these cases.
All right. So we'll be back after this short break.
There are terrors, real and imaginary, and I write about them all. Paranormal nonfiction, horror fiction, the Rochdale House of Fire, the Mammoth Mountain Poltergeist, the Associated Monsters, Red Menace, the Five Poisons, Bellwether. Go to www.jennyashford.com or search Amazon for the Jenny Ashford author page.
Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is, interestingly, as far as I know, this is the only case in American jurisprudence where the defendant actually tried to claim demon possession.
Awesome.
As the reason that he murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Now, if you guys ever watched the show A Haunting, this case was actually not the murder part, but this haunting was actually dramatized on the episode called Where Demons Dwell.
I remember that one.
Yeah,
Daily.
and it's kind of similar in the beginning, but the end of it's totally different. This happened in 1981. The guy's name was Arne Johnson. And what ended up happening, this is actually known, if you look it up, I think it's even under this on Wikipedia, it's called the Devil Made Me Do It case.
Oh, man.
And I do think the Warrens were involved in this one, too.
Oh, of course.
Because, like I said, wherever there's demonic shit. Now, initially, just like in the Haunting TV show, this family, it was a woman named Debbie Glatzel, and she moved into a rental house that was owned by her mother. This was in Brooksville, Connecticut. And she moved in there with her 11-year-old brother, David. Now, David was the first one affected that was supposedly, quote-unquote, possessed. Okay? So the kid, he moves into the house. As soon as they move in, he starts screaming and freaking out and saying he sees an apparition that looks like a scary old man with horns, hooves, jagged teeth, and, shit like that.
He sees the devil.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And he says that this old man told him that something bad was going to happen if they stayed in the house, right? So, his sister is just like, whatever, kid, you're just having nightmares or what have you. But, so at this point, her and the younger brother living in the house. She asked her fiance, who is Arne Johnson, the guy who would eventually murder somebody, she asked him to move in. Just to keep an eye on the kid, because she's like, he's having all these nightmares and I don't know what's the matter with him. So, so Arne moves in. And the kid, David, his nightmares are getting worse. He's having them all the time. And then he's starting to see the apparition during the day, like when he's awake. And he's saying that he called it the Beast Man, and he said that the Beast Man was threatening to take his soul away.
Yeah.
And
I'm remembering this episode now.
Yeah. And just like in the Robbie Mannheim case, unexplained scratches and bruises and stuff like that start turning up on his skin, right? So finally, Debbie, the sister, she has a Catholic priest come and bless the house, and as usually happens, that made shit worse. They started hearing funny noises coming from the attic. The kid started having seizures, talking in multiple voices at once. And then he started quoting the Bible and quoting Paradise Lost and stuff like that. Kid was 11,
Right.
So I'm sure he hasn't read Paradise. Well, maybe,
Oh, he read it unprompted? Just
he would just say quotes from it, yeah.
Okay.
So then this went on for a couple weeks. Then they call in the Warrens.
Yeah.
And of course, the Warrens step in and go, yeah, kid's got 42 demons.
They're making 42. It worse. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Specifically.
Thanks, Warrens.
Yeah. And the Warrens said that, okay, so these 42 demons, they come in, they do the minor rite of exorcism, which I guess you can do without church permission. That's just the freelance exorcism thing. Yeah. And so they do this and they say, we saw like a black figure appearing next to the kid. Lorraine said she saw the kid levitating off the bed. And she said that the kid predicted that Arne would murder somebody.
Wow.
Okay? And so actually, Lorraine took this shit seriously enough that she went to the police, evidently, in October of 1980 and said, hey, watch this family, especially that Arne guy, because might be some trouble brewing there. He might kill a dude. He might kill someone.
Wow. And this is documented?
Apparently, I mean,
wow.
Yeah. So
this is already starting to sound like the beginnings of a poltergeist case, if you ask me. Because sometimes a poltergeist focus will be able to kind of like get messages from the future or remote knowledge, but he never thinks it's his own subconscious doing it. It's always an exterior force is telling him this.
Yeah.
Be it angelic or demonic or ghostly.
Yeah. But so at this point, the 42 demons or whatever are still in the kid. Now, during one of the exorcisms, Arne, who is the sister's fiance, challenges the demon, get out of the kid, come get into me.
Oh, okay.
And apparently it worked. Apparently the demon's like, okay, bro. And he went and got in Arne.
Okay.
Okay. So it seemed like David was okay after that. And then, they took him to doctor. He was fine. And then Debbie, the sister, and Arnie, the fiance, they moved into their own apartment. And this apartment was in a building owned by a man named Alan Bono. Now, Arnie was only 19 years old at the time.
So these are almost all kids in this story.
And when they moved to the new place, he started acting all possessy and shit too, like David had. Like, he started saying, I'm seeing an old guy with horns, and he was, like, super aggressive, and he started getting in trouble with the law a little bit, even though he'd been, totally fine before. And then, he started getting real aggressive. He would go into trances, and he said, I didn't remember what I did or said in the middle of it. And so...
this is weird when you think about it. What if a poltergeist focused like a kid what if he believes that his poltergeist manifestation, in other words, his psychic force, has left his body and he's now imagining it in somebody else's body? Can it be like mental domination over that other person?
Could be.
And where that kid's mental force is causing another person to do things?
Yeah.
Like you controlling a
puppet.
Could be. And it's where maybe it's where stories of like psychic domination come from.
Yeah.
Weird. Or maybe it is a demon. We'll just have to hear the story. Come on.
But it could be.
Weird.
So what ended up happening? So one day, Arnie, Debbie, and some other people are at Debbie worked at a kennel. She was a dog groomer. Mm-hmm. And they were all there, and they all went out to lunch. They were there. Debbie's 9-year-old cousin Mary was there. Arnie's sister Wanda was there, and they all went to a bar. Mm. And the landlord, Alan Bono, got drunk. Now, when they came back to the kennel, Alan was acting real, belligerent. He supposedly grabbed the 9-year-old girl, which I don't know why. And Debbie started to intervene and stuff like that. And then Arnie steps up, says, let go of the kid, whatever like that. And then he stabs the dude to death.
What?
Yeah.
Damn.
So he just stabbed the fuck out of him.
Damn.
So the landlord, they took him away in an ambulance, obviously, and he died a couple hours later. Arnie took off, but they found him a couple hours later, a couple miles away.
So he thought he was defending the girl?
I guess.
Weird. Okay.
So, the day after the murder, the Lorraines, Ed and Lorraine Warren, told the police that Arnie was possessed by a demon, and that was why he had killed the dude. Of course, they also were going to work on a book on the case, and they were doing a lecture series, so you gotta take that with a little grain of salt. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Arnie goes to trial. And the lawyer's like, all right, well, we'll see if we can do something with the demon possession angle. And so he tried to solicit testimony from exorcists, subpoena some priests who would witness the exorcisms. And, but they never got anything out of that. So Arnie tried to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of possession.
Wow.
And the judge was like, dude, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. You can't do that. Judge Robert Callahan was like, nah, that's a big ol' nope.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, it's demon possession. You can't prove that in a court of law. So Arnie's lawyer's like, okay, how about self-defense then?
Yeah.
And that seemed to work out a little bit better.
Or defense of others.
Yeah,
that's what I would have done.
So Arnie ended up getting first-degree manslaughter, sentenced to 10 to 20 years, but he only served 5.
Yeah, not bad.
So
there must have been other circumstances. He must have thought that the little girl was getting molested by the guy.
Maybe he thought
that there was some
because I said there had to be some kind of extenuating.
Kill you, you bitch! Boom, and kill him like that.
Yeah.
Touching them little girls.
Yeah.
Probably his 19-year-old kid maybe overreacted.
Yeah. It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the guy was just farting around like, hey, kid, rah, rah, rah. Yeah. And then he's like, hey, like I was,
Yeah.
Because they said he'd been acting, that Arnie had been acting real aggressive. Now, a couple years after the trial, the Warrens...
Testosterone.
It's a deadly chemical. 2 years after the trial, the Warrens did put a book out called The Devil in Connecticut. And they said they paid $2,000 of the profits from the book to the Glatzel family. However... David Glatzel, who was 11-year-old kid who supposedly started the possession, he later sued the Warrens and the book publishers, saying he cited libel, violation of his right to privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The kid, well, he wasn't a kid then, but David's brother Carl also sued because in the book, the Warrens alleged that Carl was abusive, which I guess was not true. And also painted him as a villain because he did not believe in demons.
Right.
So,
of course. If you don't believe in demons, you're a villain, man.
Yeah. So, Carl also claimed that the Warrens had made up the whole possession story and said that they were trying to exploit David's mental illness or whatever for a buck. So it should be noted, though, that Debbie Glatzel and Arne Johnson are on board with the demon possession. They said shit totally happened. Kid was possessed. Arne was possessed. They believe it.
Was there any physical evidence of this possession? I mean, did they see objects moving? Did they see...
The only kind of poltergeist type activity was they heard noises, like up in the attic. Like shit was moving around. That's about it. Because that could be anything. That could be anything. Raccoons. But where's that raccoon?
And he also had kind of, I think, what do they call it? Crypto knowledge?
Yeah.
What do they call it? Where you could...
because they did say that the kid predicted
things and
that Arne would murder somebody eventually.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that was just a gut instinct, though.
Yeah, it might have been. It's like, maybe he's like, specific. Yeah, I knew he was a motherfucker, and
I don't know. What do you think of that case? What do you call it? How are you going to call that one? Was that possession?
I don't know. I'm not really comfortable because obviously, like I said, I don't believe in demons.
Right.
Might have been mental illness.
Was it poltergeist?
Might have been.
Doesn't sound like it.
But it doesn't
sound physical
because there wasn't other shit moving around.
No.
Now,
no apportation, no asportation,
right.
No RSPK.
I mean, nothing really like the Robbie Mannheim case that The Exorcist was based on. I mean, that had a lot of
poltergeist
shit moving around. Yeah. That a lot of people saw.
Yeah.
Some of these other ones, yeah.
It sounds like a weak case to me.
Yeah. Now we're kind of almost out of time, but I just wanted to mention this one last one because it also involved a murder and it's pretty gross.
Okay.
Now this one happened in the UK in West Yorkshire, and it happened in 1974. Now this guy was named Michael Taylor, and he was I think he was a butcher actually. He'd never been particularly religious. He had a wife named Christine. I think they had 5 children, and he had apparently been a totally normal guy, not particularly religious. Christine was kind of religious, and she was in like a, Christian fellowship type group. Now, Michael Taylor, for some reason, got it into his head. He's like, oh, well, I should start going to the church group too. And they don't know if it was because he suddenly, found Jesus or because he was having an affair with the female preacher.
I say
who ran the group.
I say option 2.
Yeah, I think it's probably option 2. Marie Robinson was her name. So, they don't know for certain if they were having an affair, but his wife certainly suspected it. And she kind of, confronted him at one of the meetings like, hey, are you dicking around with what's her name, with Marie? And then for some reason, Michael Taylor kind of flipped the fuck out and went after Marie, not his wife.
Right.
He just kind of like went after her and got real aggressive, like he was going to beat up on her and stuff like that. And so...
yeah, like you do.
Like you do.
Okay.
And so like the other congregants there or whatever, just like, hey man, chill the fuck out. And he did chill the fuck out. They gave him an absolution, blah-de-blah. But after that, like he still started acting real weird, like real erratic and shit like that. And
crack's a hell of a drug.
I guess so. So the local vicar gets a pair of ministers who were kind of known for their exorcism duties and was like, hey, kind of come take a look at this guy because maybe there's something the matter with him. They thought he was under the influence of Satanists, which I thought was a weird thing. Like,
wait a minute, he's under the influence of Satanists?
I know, that's what I thought was
This must have happened back in the Satanic Panic era.
It was in the 70s, 1974.
70s. Almost.
In England.
In England. I don't think England had the Satanic Panic.
I don't think they did either.
We'll have to check.
That was an American thing. By the way, we did a show on that, and it was really funny. If you haven't listened to it, I'll put a link to it in here. Okay, so they take this guy to a church and do the exorcism. Exorcism was performed on October 5th, 1974, in the night, and it went kind of overnight, and then it was over in the early morning hours. Now, they said during the exorcism, the minister said, "We drove out over 36 spirits, including the spirits of blasphemy, lewdness, incest, whatever.
Okay.
Lust, whatever."
Yeah.
But they said, but there's a bunch more still in there, including the spirits of insanity and murder.
Now, Scientology does the same thing with demons.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
It's the same thing. There's always more demons.
Yeah, he's like, so there's more demons, so you have to come back tomorrow
Right.
and get rid of the insanity and murder demons.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, but as it turned out, he never did get back for that second exorcism because after the first exorcism, he supposedly went home. A couple of hours later, policemen noticed a naked man walking down the street covered in blood.
Okay.
They asked him what the deal was. He said, "It's the blood of Satan."
Okay.
So they said, "Where do you live?" He told them where he lived. They went to his house, and they found his wife, Christine, in the house with her face torn off.
Yep.
He had torn out her tongue and her eyes with his bare hands. He had also strangled their poodle.
Damn. The family dog.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. So yeah, he had basically torn his wife's face off with his bare hands. They said it was the grossest shit you've ever
was
seen.
Satan.
Yeah, that's what he said.
So was the dog.
Yeah.
I guess.
Dog was barking while I was killing Satan. I had to do something about it. But this was a horrible, horrible story.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what he said. He said he believed his wife was possessed by demons and he had to kill her. And so the priest that performed the exorcism said, "Yeah, totally demonically possessed. That shit's gonna happen."
Yeah.
And actually ended up. So they actually used that as an argument at a trial. Mm-hmm. And at his trial, they're like, "Not guilty by reason of insanity."
Of course.
And they slapped him in a psychiatric hospital.
They took the path of reason.
Yeah.
No, you're just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, the weird thing is they put him in, they sent him to Broadmoor, which is a psychiatric hospital. He was there for 2 years. Then he got transferred to another psychiatric hospital for another 2 years, but then they let him out.
Okay.
Now, for the next couple of decades, I think it was 27 years, he didn't commit any more crimes. Mm-hmm. They said he attempted suicide 4 times, and acted kind of funny, but then he didn't try to hurt anybody that they know of. But then in 2005, he was arrested again for sexual assault on a underage girl. Mm-hmm. And they put him in prison, and he started acting all possessive and weird again. So he was just crazy. They put him back in the psychiatric hospital.
Were there any accounts of any kind of paranormal phenomena around the guy?
No.
Okay.
No. This guy was just probably nuts.
So really in the show... So really, in this show, there's only one case that had paranormal phenomenon associated with it. It's the famous case.
Yeah.
There weren't any others that had paranormal phenomena associated with them?
Yeah. Well, actually, there was one about the Smurl family, but like I said, we're running out of time.
That's a big case.
And that's kind of a big case. Like,
maybe
a lot of shit happened in that
we'll do a show just on that case later on one day.
Yeah. I mean, the Warrens were involved in that one, too, so I'm not sure how bullshitty I think it is.
Yeah.
But that one was the same kind of thing where there was poltergeist phenomena. And then
the Warrens were involved in a lot of cases.
They were.
Some of them
hundreds.
were legitimate.
Yeah.
It's just the ones where only the Warrens were there, the ones I kind of question.
Yeah.
If only the Warrens were involved in it,
then
yeah, things are suspect.
Yeah. But okay. Well, I guess. Crap, we're out of time. So we're like over an hour. So I hope you enjoyed the show. We actually wanted to get into more stories, but we just kept talking, and you know how that happens. So if you like the show, please subscribe, and thank you to everyone that has subscribed.
Yeah.
And you can listen to us at iProject Radio. Download just the audio. You can watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Go like our Facebook page and our Twitter at 13 O'Clock Podcast.
Yeah, the YouTube show is awesome. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's got really good slideshow on it that adds to
Well, I try. It takes me a long time to do, but
she does a good job on it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. That's very nice. Okay, so I guess we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.